Very good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to our trade tariff live trading session. Hope everybody's well and had a good weekend. Wow, what a weekend. We've got a number of headlines breaking at the moment with Trump's trade advisor, Navarro, who's just finished speaking, and we had US White advisor Hassett speaking. So first couple of things to note, this is a very sensitive market to headlines, as you'd expect. And there's a lot of headline trading going on. You can just see in some of these candles here, headline, and just watch out for that very strong headline trading. This is large moves from 975 to 14 in a minute. So be very conscious of position sizing today. Don't enter any trades unless you have a keen sense of your position size, where your stop is, and exactly what your risk is. So that's the first thing to say. The second thing to say is the market is so consumed with tariffs that it can't really see anything else right now. And it's all about, what is Trump's end plan, right? What is he actually trying to do? We've got the April the 9th is when the reciprocal tariffs are going to go on the worst offenders.
Says, considering visiting the US
Wednesday,
at the appropriate time to have direct talks with President Trump.
Right. These are what's really roiling markets. And these are due to come into place on April the 9th. So what we need to see for sentiment to lift is these getting unwound. We've had some news from Trump. He was sort of saying earlier on in the session, he's up and tweeting. He said oil prices are down, interest rates are down. He says the biggest abuser of them all, China, whose markets are crashing, just raised its tariffs by 34% on top of its long-term ridiculously high tariffs, not acknowledging my warning for abusing countries not to retaliate.
Continuing with Japanese PM Ishiba, says agreed with Trump to appoint ministers in charge of discussions.
Right. So the other headline that's of note, so that's antagonistic towards US and China, so that's negative. Then you've got US White House advisor Hassett, and this is what sort of helped markets to rally very briefly. Just show you that here. Very briefly, I took one trade on that, on the micro accounts on this headline. You can see that the delta that came in, very small short. And he basically said, has seen some deals that are great, but Trump will decide how great. And that's the flip side of all this, that this is some genius plan from President Trump to get countries to negotiate. They're going to negotiate, and the US is going to walk away with these amazing deals. That's the kind of fairy tale scenario. The market's reacting at the moment as though it's the nightmare scenario. So you can see stocks sharply lower across the whole world. EU stocks, DAX, FTSE, everything opening lower, pushing lower. But we're off the worst levels. There's a little bit of dip buying going on here. You can see S&P 500 futures, Dow, NASDAQ, all finding a little bit of support in early trade. Okay, volatility pushed above 60, then pulling back. So there's a little bit of relief that's kind of out there at the moment, but I wouldn't read anything into that. The dollar's finding renewed bids today, and we're seeing a little bit of downside in the majors on that dollar strength. The bond market is interesting. Just have a quick look at that. You can see that bonds have been bid, but then yields are pushing higher, probably on inflation concerns for the US. There's a bit of a slowdown in that big bond buying that we saw, and silver is finding some nice dips. Now I've opened up a large silver position, and I'll show you why. For me, it's the gold silver ratio has now hit 100. So silver is much cheaper relative to gold, and I still see the bullish case for gold in place. And I think that this correction on silver is overdone. So I've been buying in heavily down at this sort of 29, 28, that kind of region here, 28.50 region, 29.50 on that. So really finding silver very attractive now. And should we start to get like more fiscal stimulus, and you start to get a bit of a boost around the world to try to even prop up countries, and silver could really be a beneficiary of that as well. I do like silver longs. That's very, very attractive. And the currency space, very difficult, but just noticing we are finding a little bit of dollar buying. and that buying is starting to build a little bit. We've got that long tail rejection. Just to see, I'm keeping an eye on that sort of this potential 10 line around the 102, 101 region. So could we see a little bit of recovery from the dollar now? There will be some inflation fears that will definitely start to build, and they'll only get more and more. In terms of the sentiment for today, we've got to be two-way. The inventory from the Globex Open is positive. It briefly went negative on the open, right? And then quickly turned into positive territory. So Globex Open inventory is positive, and we've seen in the Asia session, hey Konstantinos, very good morning to you, good to see you. In the Asian session, we've seen this range. We've got this large overnight gap that price has moved into and rejected on a first test, but we've got a very nice attractive area for selling, and particularly where we've got those lows from Friday in line with the overnight gap around that 50-40 region. Okay, so that's an area, let's just get that exactly right. That's an area to be looking for potential shorts in that 50-40 region. A couple of things I've noticed is that we've tried to break out of these highs, and now we're trying to pull back into them. So there's a potential false break going on there. If you look on the hourly chart, we've got these sellers that weren't quite able to be trapped, or debatably trapped here in that gap, and now we're seeing selling starting to pick up as we're heading into the US Open. Key areas to be looking for is obviously that 4925 and this weekly point of control. That's an important area. And the 15-minute chart is starting to see selling just start to build up a little bit. You can see inventory, although positive, we're having a potential double top in price and in volume. And there's a potential for this to move lower. Obviously, this 49.23 is a pivotal area. Okay, lots of buyers have come in from there, so a close underneath that region, then that's attractive for sellers, as is a potential close underneath this sort of 4942 region. Okay, that could be an area where we start to see some sellers. I'm going to be very careful today, because what I've noticed is that buyers suddenly coming in on headlines. So it's a very jittery market. So I'm only looking for really clear, obvious opportunities. And if you look at the 15, what I have got at first is I've got quite a lot of sellers trapped from this region here. So we've got a lot of sellers trapped down there, and we've got these near-term buyers, and the inventory is positive. So in the very short term, just watch out for dip buying to start to build. Okay, because look, price is up on the positive delta. Now we're pulling back to where those trapped sellers are, and we're finding dip buys, and they're quite aggressive, and they're coming in quickly and hard. You can see here, dip buy, question mark, another dip buy. So definitely to be looking for as we head into the open. Projections for today, difficult without a clear value area to look at. The next value area is up at that 5100 area, but I would probably project a move back up to that gap, and then a sell off, and then either a break above and away, or sell off and then continuing lower. So I'll be looking for that, and I'll be looking for potential buyers from this 4925 region, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a test of this 4925 here, where we got those sellers trapped. So maybe a test the 4925 up, and then it's really a coin toss which way it goes, depending on probably headlines. Now, if we take a look at the calendar, there's not a whole lot going on the data front. You see, quiet. There's hardly any news. It's just going to be headline driven. I'm going to have a look at the scheduled speakers on the other calendar just to see what's going on. Here you can see Israel got the same as the UK, right? 10%. So they took that quite badly, that Israel's tariffs are not reflective of the special relationship they thought they had. So that's been upsetting them. You've got Trump visiting the Dodgers at 4. Just watch out, he could say anything at any time. Fed's Kugler speaking at 3:30. I think that is it really. So we're looking really to see how the open starts. The best opportunity is to break back down on that point of control and then fall lower. Okay, that would be the best opportunity. underneath this area, right, and then pulling lower down to that 4,900. We've got circuit breaker levels are quite away from price now, but they are out there to still, we've got to be aware of. So the first one was 4,755. So if you get down to 4,755, that's the first circuit breaker level. I'll just have that. Let's just check 4,755. And there'll be a 15-minute halt if you hit that. So I'm just going to put it in at 4,760. Right, so we're now pushing through the top of that overnight gap into Friday's value area. Yeah, so Mark, Anthony, you see that flag up, pull back, right, against 45 degrees.
According to a statement, US President Trump has directed the CFIUS to review the US steel acquisition.
Okay, trapped sellers, potentially going to get trapped there. I just want to have a little look at this on a...
And just be aware, there's some comments from Hassett. Trump is mulling a 90-day pause in tariffs for all countries except for China. That's according to the White House economic advisor Hassett. Trump mulls 90-day pause in tariffs for all countries ex-China.
So all countries potentially getting a 90-day pause. Just bought on that. Right, so I'm taking it off. Lovely. Quick one, just had to be super quick in this kind of market. Don't want to mess around with that. But that was lovely. So, review of the day. Now, I haven't got all my journal done, but the headline is P&L $808. I took 7 trades today and win percentage of 80%. The opportunities were here. So the opportunity I took was the news headline. That was my best trade of the day on the news. It turns out to be fake news that the White House is going to have a 90-day or consider a 90-day pause on all countries apart from China. That's resulted in a nice move, 30 points higher. All right, so I took that. That was a lovely little move. Then I had a trade when I was shorting, when I saw these sellers trapping these buyers with the headlines that it was maybe fake news, right? So I thought that's a good opportunity to sell. When it moved back above the standard deviation, just had to get out. So that was a large, 40 plus point loss, right? But then when I saw these buyers getting taken out, see at these lows here, see when those buyers had the lows taken out, entering back in again, and then entering a second position as there was another opportunity with these buyers sort of trapped here, so trying to flush it down, and then another opportunity with these buyers getting trapped, another opportunity to flush it down. But that was on the headline that the White House confirmed it was fake news. At the time, the point of control was there as well, which was a good opportunity to short against. Let's just see. Yeah, it's still there. You can see it was this area here. Sellers trapping those buyers, point of control. I entered it because of a headline reason, news headline, but it was actually a nice point of control trade. And then the final trade that I didn't take that was nice was when these buyers, just able to see these sellers trapped against the point of control, buyers on limit, trapping those sellers there, and then away we went. Lovely. Okay, folks, that's all for today. I've got a dash. Take care. Be very careful. If in doubt, stay out today. Make sure your risk is completely managed. Has to be on a day like this. Take care, folks. Speak soon. Bye for now.